Alright, here is the video review for Mastermind Creations reformatted R-26 MALUM Militia, aka the Insecticons. And they're alright. I mean, I feel like they did not do themselves any favors by shipping these at the same time as Tyrantron, because I loved him, and these guys fall a little short. A lot short in comparison. So yeah, you get the 3 bugs together in one box set. They each have their individual bio cards, hard plastic, which is nice, credit card type material. You got Calcitrant, aka Kickback, Protestus, aka Shrapnel, and Inflecto, aka Bombshell are their names. So you get that. You get the comic/instruction manual, although the instruction manual goes from robot to insect mode, which is nice, except they all come packed in insect mode. So, yeah, and there's a lot of little fiddly bits that are kind of, whatever. But yeah, so, and then on the other side, like all the ones, you get the little comic MALUM Militia, written by Hector Sigma. So yeah, there you go. But on to the bugs themselves. One, what is this, Protestus? Is that his name? Protestus, yes, I got it right. They're weird names. Has yellow legs, okay. Everybody else has purple or black, which I would prefer. But yeah, so you got the bugs, each have their weapon stored on them. It's just chromed plastic. Somebody was saying these have die cast, and there's a little bit of heft to them, like maybe some small parts are, but they're not particularly hefty. Some of the plastic feels thin, and they don't feel like there's a certain level of quality I have come to expect from reformatted series figures. I got it in Tyrantron. I'm not feeling it with these bugs, and I don't know if it's just because it's probably the same plastic, just thinner, and that's all that I'm feeling. But there's a lot of places where these feel fragile, and while nothing has broken, they just don't feel right for a Mastermind creation product, which is weird. But the guns all come off. You just slide them out of their respective peg holes. Like that. And there are the bugs. And they've got poseable legs, and they've got almost 2 poseable legs. They got this swivel up here, ratcheting hinges. Some of these ratcheting hinges are very difficult to get moving at first, and little ball joint, and then movable tips here. So yeah, lots of range of motion in the legs here. Maybe not so much on this one. They'll just have a ball joint on it. So yeah, and he's got the adjustable proboscis there. You can see his head under there. He's got he also has the sideways hinges on it, but more standard bug legs, although he does have the ball joint here, so you can rotate that up and around. You can get some pretty decent, if you're willing to sit around and mess with it, insect-like poses, even his back legs. Have a knee and foot, a little bit up here, outward rotation. Here the wings can move up and down, the head can rotate, but this little place plate that gives him the mouth and covers his face, which is a little awkwardly shaped, doesn't look like, if you turn his head, you're going to see his face. So, but his antenna have some arrangements on him. Some movement, I guess is what I meant to say. He's got the opening little bits. These stay flat. There is a neat little, like I said, initial complaints or griping aside, there is a neat little thing that Protestus does here with his thing. I think these may be on upside down also. Maybe I'm wrong. No, looking at the... Okay, one of the pictures made it look like these should be facing the other way, but looking at his robot mode on his bio card, those are correct. They all have the little opening chest bits. This guy, not Protestus, Calcitrant and Incipio, or what's his name? Inflecto. Chests open for transformation. Protestus here just has the opening hinge with no real reason for it. You don't get the clear plastic ones like were included with some of the other versions of these guys. Just the yellow plastic here is what you get. Like what you see is what you get here with these guys. So to transform, let's do this guy, Protester Calcitrant, first, because he's probably the, I say easiest, but the least complicated. So go ahead and flip his feet down, extend his legs. They don't really click into place. They kind of, I mean, like, it's really loose. It doesn't snap, click into place, at least without more force than I'm willing to pull on this hinge with. But they stay in place fairly well. Then fold the leg up. You want to leave, you can fold this all the way up like this, and that'll help for some stability, I guess, if you're having issues with stability. But yeah, you flip the heel down at any angle, and that will allow you to bend the knee. If you have it straight up, it's going to interfere with that a little bit. It's going to want to pull the whole leg out, as you can see, instead of just bending at the knee. So just angle that back a little bit. I'll give you some range of motion there. Same over here. Now up here, you can go ahead and flip. Well, actually, you don't want to do that yet. But rotate the wings around. You'll see, just like all the other ones, there's a little gap here in the silver chrome piece. So you want to rotate that so it's facing straight back. This is the tricky part. So it's facing straight back like this. And then this whole backpack assembly, you kind of see where it tabs in up on top here. Comes out, the arms come out. You can see the hollowness, the opening there where the arms slotted in. And you flip the arms out like this. Kind of pull the legs together and rotate this whole assembly around and in. Same on this side. And once you've got this around and in, this is where it gets tricky, because there's a space in his backpack here, and you have to fold these down in a way so that they kind of come out through the backpack. To get them to fit in. You have to do it also while you're trying to close it up. So it takes some doing. I haven't found a specific fold it this way, this way, this way to let it do it. But you can, again, you can push open this open. That will help you kind of guide them through as you pull this back up. You need to make sure they come all the way down into the body as well, so that it will close up. And make sure these stay in the right position to allow everything to come back through the thing. You can kind of see they'll stick out a little bit depending on how you do it out the back, but you can just fold them up a little bit and not a big deal. Oh, these one facing a different way. It may even be possible to fold these up tightly enough that they don't come out the back, but there's a specific hole here for that. So take advantage of it, because it really doesn't add anything to the backpack, and then you less stress of worrying about whether you're snapping some of these off inside the body. Once that's done, rotate these around. His fists are very tiny. There is, thankfully, and I gotta say, this is another smart thing, there is a little tab on the fingers that'll let you flip those out easily and pull the wrist out. Now, the wrists don't really swivel, and they tend to sink back into the forearm a lot, which is a shame unless you have the weapon in it. But getting them in and out, at least on these two guys, he's a little bit difficult, but we'll get to that later. But on these two, him and Inflecto, you just kind of pull the tabs on the fingers, and that gives you the leverage to pull the hand out. Very thin pieces, though, again. More force than I would want to exert on this thin plastic. Have not had any issues with it breaking, have not had any stress marks. Could be totally fine. There's just a reaction of, I'm really yanking on this thin piece of plastic a little bit. You can see this knee is kind of slipping down into there because it doesn't really... Like I said, there may be a lock, but I'm having a hard time finding it. And then this piece right here, the mouth parts for the grasshopper, folds down onto the back. Turn his head around. And then grab his weapon, put it in his hand, close his fingers around it, and he's good to go. On to Potestas. He's got some neat bits, and some neat bits that work really well, and some neat bits that are a pain in the butt, and some bits that are just kind of a pain in the butt. So we'll go ahead and just kind of fold these back and lift this whole assembly up a little bit to allow his arms to unpeg from here. They're kind of wrapped around this leg here. So slide them out, and then you can kind of bring them out and around. The shoulders come out of the sockets up here, and then you can rotate them up because these panels are going to need to fold in to the body. And then at this pin right here, rotate the whole assembly back. So these are going to kind of fill in to his back here. And then we'll deal with these legs here shortly, but you want to fold those in and clamp them together here on his back. Kind of like a Dr. Octopus. Untab. Now these little tabs fold down, but you need to untab them from the side here first. They're pegged in sideways onto this. They don't just lift up, which took me a little while to learn, but you just got to pull them out. On these hip flaps here. Again, thin plastic, that is scary, and you're going to be like, am I doing this right? But again, no stress marks yet, so we'll see. Open up these panels like this, and you can see these panels are going to come up. Now before you, this tab right here is going to lock into the front, but before we get to that, here's what you got to do, and this is kind of crazy. You can go ahead and flip his foot out. This piece right here, you got to slide this panel down, then this leg comes in, and getting it in position, you got to kind of angle it down, fold it into the leg like this, bring this kind of, have it out like this, and then fold this toe up. Just want to kind of collapse it into the shin, and then you can close this foot panel all the way. So take that, once that's folded up, slide this panel back up, bring this knee piece down here, this purple knee piece, so it tabs into this slot. Line that up, and then this tab right here should tab back into the side piece. And now his leg is, and then this piece folds down like that, and now his little bug leg is hidden inside of his shin. Figuring out how to fold that up, because the instructions are very tiny and go in the opposite direction, so you don't really get an idea of what that should look like in there. But once you figure it out, it's like I said, we'll show it again over here. We'll lift this up, slide this panel down. Like I said, you want to use this hinge to kind of angle the whole assembly down next to where this hinge is. Use the ball joint so it's facing up, so this can fold kind of, it almost looks like it's not going to fit because this is sticking straight out. And then use that last pin to fold the little tip of the leg up like that, and you think, but that's sticking straight out, it won't close. And if you angle it straight out, it will, but you can kind of, there's enough room to kind of get it in there sideways a little bit, and then you can close that up, close that up. This one's being a little bit more difficult than the other one. There we go. Close that up, and then, oh, whoops, and make sure that that hinge, this purple piece, folds into the slot there, and then fold this down to kind of lock that whole assembly together. And that leg's done. Flip out his toes, rotate his body together at the waist, bring his arms down, fold the gun up here, the side of his arm. Now his hands, you slide, this tabs in up here, so you rotate this piece down. There is a tab here to help grab it, but his hands really get in there tightly, so you gotta really work to get these to pop out. I've done it. I know it's pop. There we go. But it takes a lot more force than you'd expect to get that out. And then you rotate his fist around and open up his hands. He does have the same little hinge to open up his hands, or a little tab here on the tip, which is nice. There we go. I wonder if that would fit in. Well, no, because, yeah, okay. Then close that back up. Bring his shoulders up. And here's the cool part. So these upper pieces, let me get him standing here and we'll zoom up to get the whole effect of his horns here. So these rotate out to the side. These will come with it, and that's fine. But instead of like having this piece kind of sitting here kind of blocking his face unless you have it have these super wide here, these are on dual hinges. They're hinged on a separate piece up here and up here at the piece. So instead of just flipping out like several of them do, where this just kind of opens up and you've got these pieces sitting up here, these actually can now rotate all the way down and then angle up with, you've got all sorts of options with this. So whatever angle you put these at, those don't get in the way. That you can have these at a much more steeper upward angle without covering up his face like a lot of them did. which is kind of cool. You can also, if you want to have these down, you can rotate them up and have them visually. I think I like that look of having them stick straight up on the sides of his shoulders, but it's entirely up to you. But that dual hinge there on that, really smart. This one's really loose. Again, this chromed plastic, the pin damage, and this is all chrome plastic. If there is die cast on these, it may be in the feet. It feels like these toes might be die cast. There's not a lot. They don't have the standard, the kind of, like, yeah, definitely in the feet, the kind of heft you'd expect from die cast. So like the feet, obviously, maybe just the feet on him too. These thighs are just chromed plastic. These aren't metal thighs. And then these pieces, you just kind of use the hinges to fold these up and around onto his back. Instructions kind of have him just kind of sit up here and fold up next to his head. Up to you. There's several points of articulation where you can set them up wherever, but they just kind of fold up along his back like this. To get him out of the way. Maybe I do have two backwards. No, I just didn't fold it the right way. There we go. So yeah, whatever, like that. And again, his gun over here, just stick it right in his hand. There's Potestas. Now on to Inflecto. There's the bug legs. I'm going to rotate these pieces out. Go ahead and extend the legs down. These you just heard them kind of click into place. You'll see these little purple places. They actually click into place quite nicely. These come around. There's a little tab here that specifically locks the leg onto. Here in robot mode, open up, split the legs, open up the thigh here and flip the foot all out. It's just a hinge up here. And close that back up. Rotate these around to go to the back. And then again, rotate this around so that this is folded up along the back. Bring the foot out. And then the arms stubbornly are pegged onto this little thing back here with it actually has a latch on it. So it's very difficult to, first time you do this, you're like, I'm going to break it. And you're not. But open this up, open up these side panels here on the waist to bring the legs back. Open up the front panel here. You may need to push from the back side to get it open. And then you rotate this so his head comes out, rotate his, this comes up and pegs in onto here, and then clip that back together, turn his head around, turn his waist around, and then, like before, fold this back, then fold this whole assembly with the legs to the back, and then fold in the side piece there to kind of fill in his abdomen. And then just position these however you need to make them fit to your liking. And then the fist here, again, just like on Calcitrant. You use a little, again, his fists slip in really easily back into his arm. And again, maybe they're lockout, but I don't want to risk breaking it because it would take more force than I would want to. Flip out the guns. His hands. Extend the arms. Just closing his hand makes it want to slide back up into his body. And then, just like the others, he can hold his gun in his fingertips. And there you are. Now, they're okay. I wish I liked them more. Like I said, I feel like in some ways they suffer from being released on the same day as Tyrantron, because the same time as Tyrantron, because Tyrantron's a very solid figure, and these guys are all right. Like the chrome feels, again, everything just doesn't feel up to what I expect from Mastermind, and I don't say that easily because it's weird. Like I'm used to getting really good stuff from them, and like they're not horrible by any means. Like they're not falling apart, but the chrome just doesn't feel right. They don't feel like they don't really have any significant heft. It's just I'm trying to hard to. There's just a quality that doesn't come off from holding these in hand. Like you see, his head crest is off to the side, like he's wearing a jaunty hat. I don't know if you can tell how off that is on camera, but like it's sitting off to the side. I've tried fixing it. It's not a removable piece that I found, and I don't want to risk breaking it, but like it's not sitting. Like if you look here, let me see if I can zoom in on his head. Like looking dead on, this piece should match up with this piece. That's in the center of his head. That should be in the center of his head, but it's skewed off to the side a little bit. It's just like it. Just slightly off center on his head. I can kind of twist it to straighten it a little bit, but even then it's hanging over this side and not, like it's almost even with this edge of the head and then leaves this much hanging off on the other side. It's frustrating. So yeah. It's nice that they come as a set. I do like the basic Insecticon design. These guys just aren't blowing my mind. The articulation-wise, they're good. They got ball joints at the neck. Let's see, stuff. Rotational joint here, front to back. Bicep swivel. Pretty decent elbows. Again, they're limited by the armor, not by the joint. Individual, like well, not individual, but like the fingers are all one piece. But they do no wrist swivel on any of these guys, just due to the transform. I thought he might have it, but no. But there's waist swivel, clicky, like they don't loud click ratchets, but I can definitely feel the detents, both front to back and side to side on the knees. Dual hinge knees, again, limited more by the armor than the joint itself. Here, poseable feet there on Inflecto. Calcitrant, again, ball joint at the head, again, slightly limited by the shape of his head, but swivels in both directions at the shoulder, bicep swivel, dual hinge elbows, the same fingers, waist swivel, ratchets out. No ratchets front to back, but they're stiff enough. Decent knees, and a little bit of articulation in the toe here. Not much, but front to back and very little side to side. But again, doesn't really lock into this side, especially doesn't really lock into place. So it's he keeps kind of wanting to sink down to one side. And then he's probably, like I said, he's probably the neatest of all of them, which is weird. Usually Bombshell's my guy. But I really dig the way they dual hinged these pieces right here to make this whole upper assembly work. The way the leg hides in here, it's a little frustrating figuring it out at first, but the way all these panels slide together to allow those yellow bug legs to fold inside the leg are very nice. He's probably got the most stable feet out of all of them. I think if there's any real winner, it's Potestas, which I would not have expected. That was not what I was expecting going into this. But yeah, I think he's the best. He's got ball joint head, or maybe it's just up and down and side to side swivel on the head, but a decently expressive and poseable head. The shoulder pieces, swivels and hinges at the shoulder, bicep hinge, decent elbows, the same fingers, waist articulation. They even gave him the opening hatch, even though they didn't have to, because there's nothing back there. No ratchets in the hips I can feel on him, but again, they're stiff enough that it's not an issue. Okay knees. He doesn't have the greatest knees out of all of them. They actually bend more forward than they do back. But decently poseable feet. Both he's got some ankle tilt and the alternate pieces here, that the toe and heel piece, that give him some articulation there, support in lots of various poses. Also, like I said, there's extra faces that just have like smiling faces for these two guys, halfway smiling faces. That you can see they peg in. Let's see how easy it is to swap ahead here. Well, the answer is not easy. You may, again, need a small screwdriver or prying tool to get in there. Let's see if I can't do that. Yep, there we go. Small little screwdriver. Just don't go right for the surface. Kind of go down toward the ball joint and pop it off. It popped right off. And then we can give him a slightly happier face with a more expressive mouth. Let's see if we can show that off. Yeah, see? Big old smile versus stoic face over here. And same here. He's got a kind of a stoic face going on. Pop this up. Whoops. Okay, that one went onto my lap. Oh, it's right here. It didn't fall as far as I thought. And then he's got a little bit of a grin as well. Not a huge grin, kind of a wry grin, but kind of a side turned up face as well. So yeah, having handled all three sets, I think I got to give the if there's a Insecticon War, I think Fans Toys has the most solid of all of them. I know that they're certainly the best bombshell. We're just rating it on bombshell. Fans Toys far and away has the best bombshell. As a whole set, I still think Fans Toys edges it out, even though their kickback was prone to some stuff falling apart, the wing cracking. Not everybody's happened to, but it was like I said, prone to, not guaranteed as far as I know. Although I did hear about a lot of instances of that happening. So yeah, individually, I do think I like this version. I wish his legs weren't that bright yellow, but although I guess they were on the old toy, weren't they? But I do think this version of Shrapnel is very nice. There's a lot of neat tricks on him. I just wish they felt overall, like I said, they're not bad. They're decent representations of the Insecticons. Just, again, one, having handled Tyrantron today as well, and just MMC stuff in general. These just don't feel up to what they usually put out. And like I said, I don't say that with any joy. But yeah, they're decent. They're not great.